Animal Crossing New Horizons has finally got some more gameplay footage, and you know what that means? Analysis time. I would have done this earlier, but I was busy, but that gave me a lot of time to look over this footage, so here's all the small details I was able to find in the new Animal Crossing New Horizons gameplay footage. But remember, if at any point you enjoyed the video, drop a like and please consider subscribing as it would help me out a huge bunch. But anyways, let's jump right into it. So our first clip gives us a good look at the airport for the first time. Two main things to note here. One is this flag, which I believe will likely be customizable like in previous games. We also see that the airport is called Dodo Airlines. Does this mean we might get a new special villager that's a dodo bird that runs the airport? It's definitely a possibility. We then get a look at the villager Bill, and we see what I assume is his tent behind him. This is a different color from the blue tents we saw before for the other villagers, so maybe each villager type could get their own color. Then we see the villager Tammy, and we can see that the voice box can actually change shapes, not going from a jagged one, seen here, to the normal one once she's done yelling. Also, while we did know this before, I didn't point this out in my previous analysis, but villagers can now finally have sleeves. We then get a shot of the player, Bill, and Tammy, leaving the airport, which leads me to believe that this is the very start of the game. We can see that Nook's tent and billboard are blocked by boxes and a radio, which makes it seem like you won't have access to them from the very start. We also see that there are 4 birds on the billboard, which in previous games means that you had a new message. However, since there are 4 birds here while there's normally only 1, maybe they have a new bird for every new message, instead of just 1, even though there might be, say, 20 messages. Also, this area has a lot more things on it than when we last saw it, like the stump here, this bench, and this fireplace. We are then given a tent item to place down. Now, while I don't think this is the case, maybe now we'll be able to move our homes around like we can trees. We then get to see the Nook phone. We see that some of these apps have blue notifications, which I think means that the app is new and hasn't been opened yet. We also see that Nook Miles has a red dot, which likely means that you have completed a Nook Mile, but haven't redeemed it yet. Also, we see that there are 2 new apps. The first one seems to be where you'll be designing clothes, and the other one seems to be an encyclopedia for the bugs and fish. We also see that we might be able to get different phone cases or design it ourselves, as it goes from green here to this assortment of colors in the next scene. We then get into the crafting recipes section. We get to see a few symbols over the fishing rod. The basket means how many you have in your inventory, and the check might mean that you've ever made one. We also see the background is slightly brighter for the fishing rod, which likely is either due to it being in your inventory or added to your favorites list. We also see the size of the item next to it as well. We see that most of these items are 1x1, however we see later on that the log bench is 2x1. This leads me to believe that we can either only craft 3x3 items, or we can only get 3x3 items. There's also a few other changes from the last build, such as the items now being capitalized, and the item having its menu place icon next to it. The order of a few items has been changed here as well. We then see a yellow hammer symbol under a few items, which I think means that they can be crafted right now. We then see that a few background elements have been added to Nook's tent, such as this sign and this poster. We then see a beetle, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't look like any other beetle we've seen before in Animal Crossing. The closest thing that I could find was the Dung Beetle, however they don't spawn on trees, so this may be a new bug. We then see some items that are starred, which means they are considered favorites, which we saw we could do in the crafting recipe section. Entering back into Nook's tents, we see that the tool prices have been raised from what we originally saw in the first gameplay footage. We see a bunch of Nook Miles objectives being collecting weeds, collecting crafting recipes, greeting villagers, using your Nook phone, and catching a bunch of fish in a row. We then see a brand new hairstyle on the other character focused on in this video. We then learn that we can now place tools outside without them needing to be in a toolbox. Also, something else I missed last time is that there are now more than one dress type. We then get confirmation of Filbert's return, and he is also carrying a little basket, which is new to this game. We then get confirmation of Lily's return as well. We then see that using the vaulting pole will scare away fish, which was probably expected. We then see one of my favorite new features here, which is if you eat a fruit, you're able to dig up a whole tree and place it back down. It seems that each apple you eat will allow you to dig up one more tree, which is very interesting. We also get confirmation that the villager Butch will return in the scene, and after standing for a little bit, goes to sit down. Also, this next scene, while not something huge to point out, I really love all the details that they are putting into the weather and trees blowing in the wind. It's gonna make this game really relaxing to play. But anyway, we see that the player is wearing a blue backpack. We saw another player wear a backpack in the first trailer, just not the same type. We then see a shooting star, which makes me wonder if we'll be able to wish upon it like in previous games. We then get confirmation of Roald to return with him fishing. We then get another villager confirmed being Antonio, where we see him reading a book, which is a brand new thing to this game. I really like all of the new things the villagers can do while idle in this game. It's gonna be really nice. We then see what bait is contained in that we see later on in the trailer. We see that the pond smelt has a new phrase of being catched, being whoever smelt it dealt it, whereas in New Leaf, it used to be, it sure could use a bath. We then see our original villager have a shirt tied around his waist. We also then see that he's unlocked the villager app, which I assume would unlock after adding another character onto your island. We can also see that the DIY recipes app has a red dot, probably signifying that there's a new crafting recipe. We then see the player leave the Dodo Airlines, which seems to show that this will be how we travel between towns. We then see that you will be able to move the camera around when using the camera app, at least on a 2D plane, but likely not in 3D. We then get confirmation that the money rock will return, along with fossils. This has to mean that Blathers is back so he can access the fossils for us. We then see that trees, even if it's the same type, can have different leaf colors in the fall. If you look in the distance, we are able to make out something peeking over the land. I'm unsure what this could be, either a fence or maybe even a building, but either way there's definitely something there. We then get confirmation of Pee-wee returning, and he is carrying around the same basket like Filbert was earlier in the footage. We also see a giant cluster of mushrooms, which I think is a craftable piece of furniture, instead of it being a naturally spawning mushroom type. We then see that you can place snowflake decoration on the door, and something else I missed last time is that the developers confirmed that villagers will be able to upgrade their homes this time, so it seems like this one has an extra room added to it. We also get confirmation of Fauna and Peanut to return, where we see them talking to each other. We then get to see Rosie holding some sticks, and also the player seems to have another type of container on their back. We then get to see Angus in his home with a lot of furniture we haven't seen yet. We then get to see a new type of net, which looks exactly the same as the default net from the other games. We also saw a shovel that has the same type as well. We see the villager Wolfgang, by the way I've always loved that name, watching the player catch a snowflake while sitting on a stump. We then see the player wearing a bandana on their head, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember this being able to be done in previous games, but maybe I'm wrong. We see them using the new path item while Lopez is in the background holding a flimsy net. Also, we can see bushes next to the player's house, which to me seems like they are connected, which likely means you can buy them as an upgrade. We then see the player throw some bait out while standing on a brand new dock. Maybe you'll be able to purchase this for your town, and maybe Cap'n will be able to take you to another island from there. We see that bait appears to spawn a fish instead of attracting nearby ones. We also see a new fishing rod which, like the net, looks like the one from the other games. But anyways, that's all I was able to find for this analysis of the brand new gameplay. There's actually a decent bit more than I expected, but if you saw more, please feel free to let me know in the comments. But anyways, if you want to see more Nintendo Switch content, including Animal Crossing New Horizons, then subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified whenever I upload. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.